For the first time today, I'm going to be trying my hand at screen printing a full color image. What better way to do it than with my self-portrait design here. Let's go. So these screens and ink have been sitting on my press for almost 2 years now. You can see there's going to be quite a bit of dust buildup on there, and honestly I left them set up hoping that I could, the original print run would sell out and I could print a few more to backfill, but never ended up running a second session, so they kind of just sat and collected dust. I'm thinking it could be fun to just do one little last pull through for these to see what the print looks like, because the plastisol ink actually won't dry unless you get it to 320 degrees or so. This stuff is still actually wet after 2 years time, but I want to pull all these off so I can get the squeegees cleaned up for my next print. Might as well have some fun beforehand. Let's see. The masking tape's all coming off too. I guess partial to this too was I printed these in kind of the start of winter time. I didn't quite have the confidence that my washout booth would work, and then sure enough got lazy there come the next spring when I didn't have any screen printing projects to do. Yeah, check out how dusty the yellow got here. You can see just little fragments all over the top of this. Another reason there was a little bit of trouble here is you can see I've got a dramatic amount of masking. The edge of my palette down here actually was breaking the emulsion, so I was getting a lot of bleed through with the edges of my pull. I'm sure that was partial to why the print run kind of stopped in the first place. Well, need some clamps on the back side. Alright, good enough. This also just helped me get the last of the ink out. That's wild that this stuff can sit out in the air for 2 years and print almost flawlessly to start. Literally no movie magic there, just straight up perfect yellow print over top of the black poster. And speaking of, I think I do still have a few of these snake prints on my shop, so if you maybe never missed the original video or like it enough to see it now, go check out the last few sizes I have. I remember the first time I printed with plastisol ink, I didn't read the instructions sheet at all for how to cure it, and I had to leave my first hoodie on the press for like a month for it to actually dry out, and even then it just was like such a thick print on the hoodie. I'm not sure why it ended up drying in the first place, because I didn't even hit it with an iron or anything. This is definitely a fun one here. During my stencil video, I was working on lighting in here and added a light under the workbench here. I previously even had like this big panel light, but to this back end of the garage there is no lighting, so if I'm working over here it gets pretty dark. And I did actually try to put these light panels up there. They were just some I had from another project, but even the white light is like super blue. I don't like the coloring, so I got some more of the same lights that I put under here, which are nice and just kind of neutral whites. Before we get too much into the screen printing, let's get the lighting right in here. So nothing too special about these. I use them down in my studio too, so they just have a pull trigger. You can actually plug one into the next, so make a little string of them and we should be good. I'm thinking I'll need probably 2, if not 3, to light the whole place up. Probably one in the middle and one towards the door. I feel like if I leave the 2 color lights up, they'll end up getting some use. I could put some funky colors in the room. Brightens up all the spray cans nicely. Screen printing setup should be good. I might go a little bit higher just because right now it's catching my eye, and if I look right at it, it's giving me white spots. So back here on this wall is mostly like camping gear and just kind of general storage. Over here is kind of the same. It's not much use, but who knows if I'll reorganize stuff in the future. I'm just thinking maybe one on either side will be nice, so we can have one over top of those shelving, and then one over top of the washout booth and the shelving over here. Last thing I want to happen is have this side nice and bright and then just perpetually a dark area over there. Let there be light. Today I'm going to be trying a new screen printing process called CMYK. Basically I've got 4 different screens here, and they're split up into the cyan, yellow, magenta, and black layers that hopefully all layered together will create like a full color image. I've never done that before, and I actually reached out to McLogan. They're a screen printing supply shop. I've bought stuff at McLogan for years on end. They were always my go-to for my solvent inks whenever I was screen printing vinyl stickers. And I reached out and said, hey, I've got a new project. They were super kind and offered to actually lay up all the screens for me. All the registration and all the nuance that goes into actually setting up a CMYK job is far beyond my like at-home printer and whatnot for the transparencies and the films and getting it right on this. So they really cut out a lot of the headache in the middle there. So got all my screens, got 4 different colors. So here we've got yellow on my right, and magenta on my left, and then the cyan and black layers. This is my first approach towards doing a CMYK print, and honestly the face portrait was kind of a huge challenge in that respect because I went through the whole rainbow in my color selections there. So this is going to be a fun one to tinker on and get all set up. If you need literally anything for screen printing, definitely go give McLogan a look. They've got literally anything from pre-burned screens for your own designs to all the inks and supplies that go along with it. A nice surprise in the mix was they actually threw in all the transparency films. Like honestly, this is kind of a grayscale rendition, but this could be an art print in itself. I'll carefully use some of these to help line everything up on the press. So although I've never done a CMYK job, I've done a fair share of like 4-color screen printing, so not too worried on that respect. More so excited at this point to see how close it is to the original image. These 3 look pretty sweet all lined up on one another, but the yellow layer has got so much detail to it. There's so much yellow in this one that honestly it kind of looks like the Night King right there. That I don't know that I'll be able to display this much at all, so this could be a good one to register everything with. I'll be using the registration marks on either side of this to line everything up. So when I bring my screen down, I can make sure all those are perfect, go to the next color, make sure all these line up, so we get it perfectly set up before we get any t-shirts or anything on here. So I don't know that it's any more important with CMYK than other screen printing, but I'm going to take my alignment step nice and slow. It'd be good to get a second point of tape down here. Kind of wiggling around on me with just the one. First get everybody nearby, and then we can fine tune it later. So I finished up last night aligning all of these screens and just going to double check them this morning, make sure all the registration points are good and accurate. You can see as it pushes down against the transparency there, you get the black little crosshair looking good. So with this third one, there's actually a little bit of wiggle here. And when the screen comes down, although it like sits down, you can kind of push it in and out of registration. And for whatever reason, this arm is probably just the most modest amount thinner than the rest, because when I put the other arms down, they sit super snug in the little receiver there. So I'm just going to add a slice or 2 of tape here so we can snug that up without having to, because if I tighten those bolts anymore, like that causes issue with the other ones. So it is a bit of a finesse with this manual press, but that feels good and it's not too much. I'm sure it'll wear down a little bit, but not too much friction there getting it loaded up. You can see I also had to add some little bits of painter's tape underneath the knobs here. That was helping kind of let the knob slip on the top of the frame, because if it doesn't slip and as you tighten it down, it'll actually like just tilt it a little bit. So at this point I kind of have to commit to taking my transparency off. I'm just gonna give one last double check on all these. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get any better than that. And we can tape off the corners here. I'll leave the registration marks available because that can help align stuff once I actually get ink on there. But I will kind of just get these edges cleaned up so no ink gets through the border that's still yellow. So I want to take this project nice and slow, and I'm going to start with just printing some kind of posters. So these are actually sticker backed paper, but it's pretty much just paper, some modest adhesive, nothing great, nothing that'll survive outside, but gives me a nice even surface to test out my colors on and get a feel for everything. Actually, these aren't going to be wide enough for the registration point. Maybe we can come back to that, but I've got some just poster paper we can trim down. I didn't mention it earlier, but McLogan offered to send all the inks for today as well. So we got the 4 process colors here. The cyan actually looks pretty dark, but I think that's just because it is kind of translucent, so it'll look a little bit thinner with the single colors. So we got the magenta, the black, and of course the yellow. And actually, fortunate enough, these are water-based inks. I know I had mentioned earlier about plastisols being tough to cure a little bit, and water-based, really low cure temperature, thankfully. And that also means I don't have to have the oven running all day here in the studio. It means I can kind of just print a few things, get it warmed up, dry them up, and take this a little bit slower than if I would have had to get everything cooking and dried up all at once. These are the Permaset Aqua, so Aqua as in water-based textile screen printing inks for the eco-friendly professional. Today, I'm the eco-friendly professional. I had a fan blowing on a bunch of my stencils, so I want to make sure we don't have too much dust built up on here. Oh wow, yeah, these are nice and thin. So another piece about CMYK is you pretty much have to do it on a white background. White poster in this case, white t-shirts. It's like that'll spread around plenty. Smell like mustard to anybody else? Okay, wow, the poster paper took that moisture quite a bit. So normally you kind of spray tack down the first layer, and I think I'll have to do that because if I go and do the next color on top of this, that yellow is gonna smear in places it's not supposed to be. So, all right, little quick reset. Do have some like general purpose adhesive. There, that is nice and tacky. I think that stuff's even semi-permanent. Now, I wasn't really kidding. This stuff seriously smells like mustard. Not much came down there. I wonder if I don't actually have enough on my screen. Or did it? Seriously, it already dried in here. That's one downside about water-based is it will dry up in the screen if you don't print actively. Okay, that's more promising. Wow. So this is exactly what I was looking for. See how it already has like an iridescent style to it? Yeah, that's a good view of it. The blue and yellow will actually interact and create some like greens in the design. So let's see how the yellow and blue mixed up. Wow. Now that's what we're talking about. I really am excited to get all the colors down. This is great. So now the magenta will bring out all those like reds and oranges as it combines with like the yellow in there. Well, this even has a pretty red color to it off the yellow emulsion on the screen. Ooh. Even got the purples. This really just had me so excited. So here's like the poster printout, big sticker I made. Brights in the yellows look so good. And the purple in the nose, like those are just so spot on. The black should really just add a little bit of shading here throughout. It really is crazy that you can just get, you know, those three colors that don't look anything like the greens and the purples we're getting and mix them just perfectly enough to get the full rainbow spectrum. All right, let's get the black on here and really see the final piece. All right, let's see. I have to be careful not to do multiple passes. It'll get it too dark. Oh my gosh, that is just spot on. So although it might look like there's a bunch of black in there, look at just how barely subtle it is. Super soft and like the greens of the letter E there. Look at just the deep shadows in the purple there. Just the teeniest bit on the nose. Wow, okay, now the fun begins where we can start messing with it and try to really perfect each of the colors laid down. But if that's our starting point, I'm real excited. It feels like such a long time coming for this process because, I mean, 10 years ago, I saw people making t-shirts with CMYK and was really inspired by it, but never did I have a press that was good enough, nor, you know, the thankful support from like McLogan to make the screens here to dial everything in and get it right like this. I think that just opened up like so many different opportunities for what I can actually print here. I feel like it's super rare that you get that amount of like potential out of learning a new skill. I want to get the next print going to make sure we don't run into the same issue of stuff drying too early. Damn. Wow. Yellow totally locked up already. I get it's dry here in Colorado, but that was fast. I get it, I was putting all the inks down, but damn. Wow. So the good old dry Colorado air has checked me on my excitement earlier. So this was the first print. Loved how colorful it all was. This was kind of second best to that. You look at the top of the eyebrow there, it's kind of just solid yellow. So the pinks and the blues aren't quite coming through. And really that's just the inks drying so fast in here. I picked a really high mesh count to hopefully get more detail out of the image, but that means the holes are super small. So it doesn't take much for the ink to dry in those little holes and then never pass any more ink through it. See a few more practice runs there with trying to get that blue layer all finished up. And it honestly sounds like I would benefit from cleaning these screens like totally out and starting fresh with like a lot more ink in the screen and making sure that they stay totally flooded. Because I was being pretty modest with how much ink to apply there. You know, we've got some around the edges, but even with the flood strokes that I was doing, that could set us up for failure right from the start. The fact that the first print looked good gives me hope that we can get back there, but a lot of trial and error before then. I'm going to play clean up here, and maybe we'll check back in tomorrow after everything goes well. Like, as I'm cleaning this, I'm thinking about other solutions. I think I'm literally going to start putting like a humidifier in here before I start printing next time. That first print was so good, I'm willing to do really whatever it takes. Between the water spray and the screen opener, I can see all the areas coming clean. So I feel like it was that first print that really locked it up bad. Keep an eye out for the next video in the series. I've definitely got some fun progress to share. That's going to do it for me. Peace.